Hello, this is Douglas Block again. I can't believe that my technology crashed. Anyway, back again, and for YouTube live chat number 9, I'm using my iPad because my laptop crashed. Anyway, hope you guys can see me. So I'm back again, starting all over again at about 11:10. I hope that people can still tune in this time. Hey Mark, send me a text if I'm on there. Hey Patty, nice to see you. Yes, I'm back on, and I'm using the iPad instead of the computer because the computer crashed. So here we are, back again another day. It's Sunday, October 22nd. It's around 12:10, and we'll go for about 50 minutes. Please feel free to ask any questions you have, and I look forward to seeing them online. How overcome depression for the Smart Man channel, afraid of losing the partner, stress and anxiety. Yeah, dealing with jealousy. That's the first question asked by Mark about jealousy. The Smart Man channel asks about jealousy and depression. It's a very normal human emotion, and it means that you're basically wanting that someone else has, or you're afraid you're going to lose something. I would definitely go into therapy and find someone to talk it out with, and also use affirmations like, I am loved and wanted. But that's really something that medication is not going to be very good at in terms of helping with that. Jealousy is tough, and there's lots of good books on how to overcome jealousy out there, and you could probably read a few. But I would definitely go into therapy and ask somebody who you really trust to help you work through that. I want to talk about my upcoming video for tomorrow, which is called "You're More Resilient Than You Think," and I talk about the fact that human beings are a resilient species, that we have overcome floods and disasters and wars and famines and all sorts of things, and here we still are. And it's the same thing with people. I have seen so many people, both in terms of physical health or mental health, overcome really, really difficult situations. Hi, Doug, says Mildred. Hey, one of my favorite YouTube. Sorry about the weird beginning of this video where my computer busted or crashed. But anyway, Mildred has been a really good commenter on my channel, and I really appreciate all the nice things you've said. Mildred, do you have any questions at all? I'm here to answer them, any that you need or want. Josie says, you really helped me decide to go into my last inpatient treatment. I know you don't know this. How was your inpatient treatment, Josie? I've had 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. And they've been interesting. Is it low self-esteem then depression? Well, they're intertwined. Depression causes low self-esteem, and low self-esteem causes depression. Anyway, Josie, I want to hear from you what you thought about your inpatient treatment. Because psychiatric hospitals are not the funnest places to go. I have myself been in many of them, and sometimes they're necessary, and some are better than others. Actually, I was thinking about doing a book called "Best and Worst Psychiatric Hospitals." I suffer from bipolar depression ever since I've been 15. Wow. Well, Josie, I've been suffering from depression ever since I've been 15. So there you have it. But I hope the inpatient stay helped you. I mean, it should. April, thank you. April, did you turn? April, let me know. Did you tune in at 11 and then did I go off there and then come back on there? Because that's what happened. This laptop I got from these Russian guys used turns out to be no good, and I've learned my lesson. I was horribly suicidal, says Josie, and you helped me to realize I didn't have to die. Wow, Josie, did you see any of my my videos on suicidality? Was it that helped you? But I want to say right now to anybody watching this that this is about what I was just talking about resiliency. People can come back from difficult situations. And in my new video, which is coming tomorrow, Monday at 8 a.m., will be posted at 8 a.m. Portland time. We're working on writing my intention to heal. It is paramount. Anyway, in this video tomorrow, I talk about the phoenix bird. How's the mood today, Douglas? Pretty good, now that I've overcome that initial crash. Hey, Lay, another one of my normal watchers, thank you for tuning in. But I want to go back to this idea about the gal Josie who said that I helped her when she was suicidal. And I have seen so many people who have come to my groups who were suicidal, who had had a suicide attempt, who were thinking about it, and they're all better today. And the Phoenix bird, which I talk about in this new video, which I'm posting tomorrow. And by the way, my next live video chat is Wednesday at 11. Suggest books about jealousy. Damn. Go look at a book called Getting the Love You Want by Herval Hendricks. That would be a good book. But in terms of people resurrecting from the dead, the Phoenix bird. Have any of you heard of the Phoenix bird? It's a mythological bird that lived for 500 years. And then what happened is it basically burned itself to death in a funeral pyre, and then it rose from the ashes and resurrected itself. And it's actually been a symbol in many religions and spirituality of the idea of resurrection and rebirth and traditions. Hey, Gavin, nice to hear from you in England. Are you out of the treatment center yet? I hope you're doing better. We need to go check in this week, Gavin. Give me a call tomorrow, Monday. I know you're 8 hours ahead. Oh, there's Deborah from Scotland. Wow. Oh, no, April is asking Deborah how she is. Right. We don't know if Deborah's tuned in, April, but maybe she is. But getting back to Josie about the suicidality, evidently you're 44, you're still here, and you went into inpatient treatment. And again, this idea of the Phoenix bird rising from the ashes. I think I have a book here. My book, When Going Through Hell, Don't Stop. I don't know if you guys can see this, but do you see the symbol of the phoenix right there on the spine? That was my memoir I wrote when I went through my major depressive episode and rose from the dead. And here's another picture of the Phoenix bird on the inside back cover. I don't know if I can see this. It says, "And still I rise." Can you see this, guys? So what is that about? Why is the phoenix such a powerful symbol? Because resurrection and rebirth and renewal are the name of the game in the human condition. Hey, Greg, nice to hear from you, or see you anyway. Yeah, I know many of you must know who have been to hell and back that there is a back. That's why my book is called When Going Through Hell, Don't Stop, my first memoir, because hell is a transition. Hey, Mike, nice to hear from you. Glad you're tuning in. Josie says, thank you so much for your honesty and sharing. I appreciate your feedback. But anyway, do you guys get it about this idea about resurrection? I mean, what did Vivekananda, the great mystic, Eastern mystic, say? Never are we nearer the light than when the darkest is deepest. Let me say that again. Never are we nearer the light than when the darkest is deepest. This is why it's, do I believe in angels and demons? I believe in angels. I don't know if I believe in demons. I do believe in guardian angels. I've had a few of my own. But anyway, yes, never are we nearest the light when the darkest is deepest. So a lot of people who are suicidal or who are desperate or feel hopeless, the problem is they give up too soon. They don't stick around. What did AA say? Don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. God, I wish I had my computer going so I could actually write that. Hey, Julie, nice to hear from you. Julie says hello. But yeah, I wish my computer were working because on the iPad, I can't really type in stuff. But all I can tell you is what AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, says is don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle. I mean, how many of you out there have had miracles happen? Did I ever see Clockwork Orange? No, I hear it was a pretty dark film by Stanley Kubrick. So I try to avoid dark films if I can. Yeah, I like what the Chocolate Factory said to Lee in terms of feedback. So anyway, yeah. So again, getting back to Josie's comment about suicidality and about hanging in there and going inpatient and not giving up. Yes, never give up. The Dalai Lama says never give up. April says, amen, Chocolate. Well, giving good advice out there. Hey, time for my joke. I got a couple of them. Are there cycles within a depressive episode? Says Mr. Blue Eyes 333. Yes, there are. Oh my God, I'm so glad you got that. You just came home from inpatient care, Julie? Yeah, join the club. I've been there 5 times. The question about are there cycles within depressive episodes? You bet there are. Thank you for why for sharing such valuable information. Evelyn May, hey, so good to hear from you. I just lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? I was talking about something about resurrection and getting over things. I'm taking turmeric. I hear it's good for depression. Well, it's definitely good for inflammation, and inflammation can cause depression. So I think turmeric is a good supplement. But yeah, the whole idea of never giving up, that's what the Dalai Lama says, never give up, never give up, never give up. It's absolutely true. Oh, I was going to tell my joke. Now I remember. All right, so what did the lawyer say when he came home from a hard day of work? It's been a trying day. Don't you like puns? What is the court jester's favorite meal? Fish and quips. Julie says, haha. You know, I wish I had my my joke book here. I could go offline and get it and read some stuff for you, but I may in just a second if I can think of some more puns. Yeah, it's been a trying day, says the lawyer. And I'll give you another joke from my last video. It's nice to see you smile, says Julie. Thank you. So, you know, a guy went to a doctor one time and the doctor said, I have good news and worse news. Gavin says, I'm out of inpatient care. It's really helped a lot. Serical's made a huge difference. That's what I talked to you about. Haven't I told you to try Serical? Yeah, so at any rate, guy goes to the doctor. The doctor says, I have bad news and worse news. What's the bad news? Well, you only have 1 day to live. Wow, the patient said, that's pretty bad. What could be worse? The doctor says, I've been trying to get a hold of you for the past 24 hours. That's from the Borscht Belt. That's from the Catskills. You got bad news and worse news, right? Bad news, you have a day to live. The bad news, you've been trying to get a hold of you for 24 hours. Okay, enough humor. So Julie, you came home from inpatient care, and I think Jolene did. So yeah, I've had a lot of patients. I mean, inpatient care, Josie Quinn says, laugh out loud. I'm not sure what to think of Lerman. I had an adverse suicidal reaction to Zoloft. Yeah, well, so did I, actually. That's called akathisia. You should look at the last video I posted on Monday the 16th called The Deadly Side Effect of Antidepressants. But Remeron is not the same as Zoloft. It's a different class of drugs. I had very adverse reactions to Zoloft, Prozac, and Paxil, all SSRIs. Remeron is a different medication. And as I say in my thing on akathisia, take it slow and start really low. You already watched it. Good for you. Josie says, akathisia is awful. Oh, yeah. You pace back and forth. You pace back and forth. You can't sit still. Something over here. Oh, I just knocked something over. Oh, well. Yeah, no, that's what it's like. No more SSRIs for me. Amen, Julie. Amen, Julie. No more SSRIs. No way. I'm in the same boat. But anyway, akathisia is a miserable thing. Any of you who've had akathisia, please type in a note right now, because it was absolutely god-awful. Absolutely god-awful. And, you know, I couldn't sit still. I paced back and forth. Finally, I called a nurse practitioner and said, Douglas, you got to get to the gym or get the pool and swim until you drop, because that's the only way to get those agitated chemicals out of your brain. Someone asked the question, what ideologies separate us, dreams and anguish bind us together? Eugene Ionesco. Hey, April, that's a great quote. Ionesco was a playwright. Patty Brady says, I had akathisia for 6 months. I beat you, Patty. I had it for 9 months. I had akathisia for 9 months after I had this horrible reaction to an SSRI. And so I went ahead. I see some people taking videos of akathisia and posting it as don't do drugs. Some people, I don't know what SMH means, but no. The takeaway story from akathisia, which is a restless inner moving that you can't control, is not to stop taking drugs, because drugs can help, is to take the drugs that are right for you. And a lot of SSRIs can cause it. So in my video on akathisia, I talk about taking a pill, a 10 milligram pill, and scoring it in quarters, and taking 1/4 of the starting dose and go really tiny, and that is going to really diminish the likelihood that you'll have akathisia, which is, again, an inner restlessness, a compulsion to move, jumping out of your skin. It's a horrible thing. What's happening outside the brain is depressing me. Yeah, well, you know, that's called situational depression, Thomas. You can have things in your life, like a financial setback or a divorce, or your wife or your husband are unfaithful. These have nothing to do with the brain. They impact the brain, and they can cause and trigger depression. Someone had a question here. I'm trying to find it here. What is recommended instead of SRI? Currently taking 50 milligrams of Zoloft, says Greg. Well, you know that some SRIs, not everybody's allergic to them. Yeah. Julie says, had many people not I've known many people who have not had negative effects on SSRI. So one man's remedy is another man's poison, or one man's, what's the word? One man's something is another man's poison. But anyway, yeah, what helps one person is disastrous for another. So unfortunately, there's no way to get around this. You have to do trial and error when you're basically taking antidepressants. There's no way to getting around it. I can't think of any other way to do that. So the only way I can think was to start on really small doses, because sometimes Zoloft, sometimes Paxil, sometimes Prozac can help a person. Patty says something about a cure. I'm not quite sure. Goodness struggle, terrible when it comes to mental health. Ignorance is not bliss. Yeah, I would agree with that. Knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power. So, Doug, do you think we have a problem with doctors overdiagnosing, overprescribing medications to people today? Says Random Bike Trips. Hey, Random Bike Trips, there's a book about that. That was a best-selling book called Anatomy of an Epidemic by Robert Whitaker. And basically what that says is that, yes, antidepressants are very helpful, but they're overprescribed many times, and people are over-medicated. And that's when you have a good thing that basically can lead to a bad outcome. So yeah, antidepressants are good, but they're not for everybody. Sorry, I just had to reposition myself. How long should one feel when SSRI kicks in? How should one feel? Well, Greg, if the SSRI is kicking in, your symptoms are decreasing. You're feeling less anxious, less agitated, more upbeat, less hopeless, more pleasure. But I want to get back to this point about, are they overprescribed? It's too easy to just go to a doctor and ask for a pill. There's a really good book I'm reading called Undoing Depression by Richard O'Connor. I highly recommend this book. And he talks about, in this chapter on medications, that lifestyle habits like he and I talk about, changing and thinking, exercise, prayer, meditation, these should be tried first. And try the conservative methods. And if they don't work, then go to antidepressants. And antidepressants should not be the first thing that the doctor gives you. Unfortunately, way too many people go and see their GP or their PCT, primary care physician, first, and they don't know anything. So they just give you a drug because they don't know what else to do. Let me see. There's a quote here from Josie. It's so hard to medicate my bipolar disorder responsibly, but not too much. It's so hard to know what to do. Well, there are some medications like lithium and Topamax and Lamictal and Depakote that have helped many of my bipolar patients and clients. So unfortunately, it's just a matter of trying the mood stabilizer until you find that one that works for you. And again, it's trial and error, but keep it up. I mean, you can find something eventually. Do you find that people suffering from depression look for comfort in others outside their family and partners? Well, Josie says, I'm Prozac, lithium, and Ritalin at the moment. Well, those are all helpful medications, so let me know how you're doing. But do people turn outside the family when they're depressed? Well, yes, only when their family isn't helping them. But dangerous for me, thank God, for Doug's book, says Patty Brady. Anyway, yes, so you should get as much social support as you can. You should turn to your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, your partner, your best friend, your support group, your therapist, your psychiatrist, your church. You should get social support from every place you can. Turning outside the family, my parents didn't understand what I was going through. My father visited me in Berkeley when I was having my first breakdown. He didn't know what to do. He just sat around scratching his head. Then he went back to Florida. So, but in another case here in Portland, Oregon, there's a guy in my support group. When he had a break, his mother flew all the way out from the East Coast and got an apartment and helped nurse him back to health. A very famous author named Andrew Solomon, in his book, The Noonday Demon, tells a story about how his father came to live with him. An amazing book, by the way, won the National Book Award in 2001, The Noonday Demon. His father came to live with him while he was on a book tour and actually went around with him from hotel to hotel, making sure he got to his talks when he was doing a book tour about his novel. So sometimes family can be immensely helpful. Sometimes husbands and wives can make the difference, their spouses or partners, but other times they don't. And so it's an individual case. Let me see. We got a bunch of questions here. My GP says Julie told me just to wait out the akathisia and gave me Klonopin. 15 days later, I was in the emergency room. Well, yeah, that happens. Sometimes Klonopin helped my akathisia. It really did, but not for everybody. Well, you had a really bad case of akathisia. What can I tell you? Again, if you ever do take an SSRI, make sure you start on a super small dose. But I found that Wellbutrin, Remeron, and the older antidepressants, which people don't remember, Elavil and nortriptyline and amitriptyline, and they can work, and dizipramine, they can all work well as the MAOI inhibitors like Nardil and Parnate. So there's a lot more in the medication toolbox than just the SSRI medications for folks. Yeah, he was very lucky, Mildred. Helen Lemus. Hey, Helen, what's the best way to deal with strong obsessive thoughts that sometimes turn to obsession compulsions? Yeah, well, there's a book called Brain Lock by Jeffrey Schwartz you should pick up about that. You can do a DBT, dialectical behavioral training, do that course. It teaches you about controlling obsessive thoughts. And there's also a medication that a number of my clients have taken, and it's really helped them, called Luvox, Luvox. If I had my computer, I could actually put them out there for you. I could write down the name, excuse me, but that has also helped. So medication called Luvox, sometimes Prozac, reading a book about brain lock and doing cognitive behavioral therapy. Every time, you get an obsessive thought that says, I need to shop, say cancel, cancel. I know that's just my OCD and I'm making a better choice. How do you deal with feeling so fragile, Julie? Well, that comes with the territory. There's a book that some of you may have read called The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron. I think it's Aron. Some of us come out of the womb. My psychiatrist said I was undercooked. I came out too early, so my nervous system wasn't completely developed. So when my mother slammed the door in the nursery room, I would jump up like that and out of the crib. I was always very sensitive to loud sounds. Maybe a little bit of autism there, probably, Asperger's, and so, people like that are very highly sensitive to stimuli, to sounds, to lights, to touch. And, when you feel fragile, you just have to take good care of yourself, Julie. You have to make sure you're in low-key environments. Don't expose yourself to too much stress. Make sure you've got a lot of love in your life. Take hot tubs, stuff like that. Mike says, hey, Mike from Pennsylvania. Mike says, what would you say are some good ways to deal with feeling fearful all the time of your depression taking you over when you've been in remission? Yeah, I think about going back into the hospital. Hey, it's happened 5 times. Yeah, well, thank you, Josie, for that very kind comment. But Mike, yeah, I think about going back in the hospital. I've had 5 episodes, why not a 6th? And so whenever I do that, what I do is I take a deep breath, let it out, and then I think about what can I do today to stay well. I think about 24 hours at a time. By the way, just to change the conversation for a second, there's something that you guys are seeing on your screens called Super Chat. A very nice gal named Mamie used it last session on Wednesday. If you want to basically express your appreciation from the work I'm doing and other people like us by making a small donation, I think she donated $2. Click on that. It will take you to a page where you have a screen where you can make a comment and put in a donation, any amount you want, and then you'll that'll get registered and your comment will come to the top here. But anyway, there is a way that you can support this. I call it a ministry. It is a ministry in a way because I'm trying to basically help those who are suffering like I've suffered so much. Patty says, how long does an episode of depression last? Oh, anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years, really, depending. It's individual for everybody. People who are rapid cycling bipolar, they'll go up and down and up and down. Every 2 weeks they can alternate. Yet it can last for, God forbid, 2 years. Mine, the most mine has lasted has been 18 months. So, but they do end. Here's the key. Bitcoin, says Greg Sander. Well, I'll look into that. Thank you for that suggestion. So yeah, an answer to the question about how long it takes, however long it takes. But remember this: when you get into a depressive episode, you may not know when you'll get better, but you will get better. That's what you got to keep telling yourself. I will get better. From people like me who have had multiple episodes, I've gotten better in the past, and I'll get better again. And you got to keep telling yourself over and over again, this too shall pass. That is the mantra that has saved more lives than any mantra or saying out there. So, so length of depressive episode varies for each person. Do you have any advice for overcoming agoraphobia? That means fear of open spaces. That's tough. One of my clients took something called Klonopin, which is a anxiety medication to get her take the edge off our anxiety. The other thing is to do exposure. Maybe one day just stand on the front porch. Have a friend come over. You can't do this by yourself. Have a friend come over and basically stand on the front porch for maybe a minute and go back inside. Maybe the next day, take 2 steps off the front porch and gradually, in ways that you can handle, expose yourself to the outside. Also having a really good therapist who can work with you. There have been books and I'm sure videos about agoraphobia. It's an anxiety disorder, and like all anxiety disorders, it can be treated. If you have an exercise bike in your home, intense exercise can help with that fear. Feelings are like clouds, they come and go. Very nice, April. That's what the Buddhists say. That's right out of Buddhism. There are clouds in the sky. They pass over like this. In DBT, sometimes I think of looking at thoughts as trains going down a railroad track. Anything that's temporary. Let me have a glass of water. Boy, I use a lot of energy talking this fast. I should have had my gum I can chew. I think I'll take some right now because I can. Right here, a piece of gum to chew. I can get the darn thing out. That helps me with the cough. Highly recommended. Bumblebee Zalagotum. Gum. All right. Ever tried broccoli sprouts for depression? I ate 1 pound of micrograms of broccoli a day, and I think it helps. Well, that's novel. Anything that has B vitamins in it, and I know broccoli does, is going to help with depression. So, you know, food could be your best medicine. So if broccoli is working for you, go for it. I think it's a great idea. You know, it's all about trial and error, right? One man's meat's another man's poison. That's the quote I was trying to remember. One man's meat is another man's poison. Another joke. What is it? Doctor. Oh yeah, the doctor says to the patient, "Hey, when you gave me the check, you know, it bounced. The check came back." And she says, "Well, so did my gout." All right. Greetings, says Arcade Cup. Nice to see you. Helen says, Helen says, I had extreme depression and anxiety in 2001. Came back strong this past year. After what, 16 years? Yeah, that's what happened to me. Isn't that a bummer? Isn't that a bummer that depression is a chronic relapsing condition? You can be free of depression since 2001, and then it can come back. Well, that's not fair. That's not fair. I mean, you get chicken pox as a kid, you'll never get it again. Why is this so? Why does depression have to reoccur? You know, it's one of those unanswerable questions. But you have to be on guard and have your recovery tools. Nuts and legumes are great for bringing your mood up, says April. Helps with serotonin, which is a happy use in your mind. Never heard that nuts help with serotonin, legumes. April, tell me the source of that. I'd like to know where you got that from. I'm sure it's valid because you're a smart person. I know you, but a lot of people can find all sorts of cockamamie stuff on the internet. You know, and just because it's there doesn't mean it's true. But yeah, nuts are really good for you, and so are legumes. So you should eat them just for your general health. Let me see. JK says, I dread adult responsibility. I have the luxury of overly permissive parents for now. I know I'm bad for being this way. Well, that's true. Oh, Spencer Reed off of Criminal Minds gave you that, April. Well, there you have it. We all have different sources. Well, if your parents are overly permissive, that is tough because it is hard to take responsibly. But maybe you can do that on your own. Turkey has tryptophan, says Ricky Knight. Absolutely. That's been known for a long time. And tryptophan is the precursor to serotonin. A lot of people who have insomnia, they say eat foods before bed with tryptophan. So a slice of turkey is a good thing. Sometimes I used to keep a small refrigerator by my bed and have turkey when I woke up in the night and couldn't get back to sleep, and the tryptophan helped. By the way, I want to kind of go back to something that Gavin said, and that was how Seroquel helped him. Something I've been harping on for quite some time. This drug was originally created as an antipsychotic like Thorazine to help people who were schizophrenic, who had delusions, who had paranoia, who lost touch with reality. And lo and behold, they found an off-label use where it could be used for anxiety and it could be used for insomnia. We have a gal in my group who only slept 2 hours a night for 4 months and was absolutely going literally stark raving mad. And then I suggested Seroquel, or I think it was her doctor did, and she went on it, large amount, but she started sleeping again, and she's been on it ever since. Now, it's highly tranquilizing. When you take large doses at night, you do have a hangover in the morning, and you're foggy, but at least you've gotten 6-7 hours of sleep. There's an article in this week's New Yorker magazine. I know that's kind of an intellectual magazine, and it's not cheap to subscribe to, but get it from the library. It's all about sleep. And I can't wait to read it, excuse me. I look forward to reading it because they say that sleep is so important, it even trumps exercise and diet, or is at least as important for exercise and diet. So in terms of keeping your physical and mental health together. So when people come to my group on a weekly basis, the first thing I ask each person to do is tell me about their sleep. How is your sleep? How is your diet? How is your exercise? Hi, Arcade Cup. Julie says hello. JK says, I've been taking small steps as with my anxiety. I'm reconciling acceptance and commitment therapy versus doing more to get better. Hey, that's very good. Yeah, acceptance and commitment therapy is very, very good. Evelyn May says, I had 5 big episodes. This last one has lasted 4 years, but I keep telling myself that I will get better. That's why I appreciate you so much and your positive affirmations. Thank you, Evelyn May. Have you ever known anybody who's taken melanolin to aid sleep? Raina Swift says, yeah, 20 people, 30 people. It's very common. It helps re-regulate your biological clock, especially during the dark winter months that we're approaching. I want to go back to answering a question here. I have to keep pointing to the screen because my iPad doesn't allow the comments to stay on there. They keep fading. That's why I need to use a computer, but my laptop crashed at the beginning of this session, so here we are back with the iPad. Helen says, sleep is so important. I found out this year, number 1, don't take naps during the day. Absolutely, that's good hygiene. Hi, my dad, JS says, my dad died when I was sick. My feelings were ignored. I lived isolated in a small town. I was hated because I'm part of the LBG community. I've always felt alone and unable to relate to anyone. I'm really sorry about that. Now I have no comments in life to do pretty much anything. Well, you need to go into therapy and build up that confidence. You can gain it back. And, maybe you could join or connect with an LBGT community in your area. And if not, chat groups online can be very helpful. Someone mentioned about acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. It's very powerful because I have a video I've made. By the way, this Monday I'm publishing my 200th video. Hooray! 200 videos. How the heck did I do that? Especially when I was crashed out. Thank you, Greg, for saying that JG is love. That's very sweet of you to say that. Anyway, this video said that depression can be managed but not cured. And so acceptance is the key. We have to accept that we have everybody who's watching me, including myself. Hey, Chris, nice to hear from you. Thanks for the congrats. We have to accept all of us who are suffering from depression, anxiety, or bipolar disorder, or even a mood disorder. The Happiness Trap, yes, that's a good book, JK. Excellent recommendation. But we have to just acknowledge that we have this lifelong disorder. I mean, people who have asthma acknowledge that. People who have type 1 diabetic, like my best friend, acknowledges he has to take insulin daily. People who have heart disease may have to basically take statins if they can't control their cholesterol, otherwise. Okay, so Amy says 1, acceptance, 2, understanding, 3, utilization, 4, mindset, and 5, strategies. Hey, if that's what I'm trying to do this life episode of my life. Hey, Amy, could you post that on this video when it's actually on YouTube? I'd like to write that down. Do you think inflammation has something to do with your depression? Absolutely. Ever since I've helped my inflammation, my depression has gone down. But getting back to what I was saying about acceptance. So if there are millions and millions of other people who have chronic ailments and learn to live with them, why not we who have depression or anxiety or mental health issues? Acceptance is the first step in change. As long as you're fighting something, there's an old saying from Gestalt therapy, whatever you resist persists. If you fight against the depression, if you basically try to deny it, it just gets worse. There's a very famous children's book called There's No Such Thing as a Dragon. It's about a boy who had a pet dragon, and his mother said, oh, there's no such thing. This is nonsense. And the more she said that, the bigger the dragon grew. So when the mother finally said, well, maybe there is a dragon, he shrunk down to size. And the mother said to the boy, why do you think the dragon had to get so big? And the boy said, well, maybe he just wanted to be acknowledged, So someone just called me Mr. Douglas. Oh, my friend Misara Gami from India. Could you tell us the benefits of diaphragmatic breathing? Sure. Mike says, I was very stubborn, didn't want to acknowledge my illness. Well, only when I began to did I love myself. Yeah, you need to love yourself the way you are. That's a hard one. But what else can we do except self-acceptance? Anyway, going back to this question here. Diaphragmatic breathing, right. Yeah, that's yogic breathing. It's long, deep breaths. You basically push your diaphragm out. You breathe with your diaphragm, not your chest. What does this do? It activates something called the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response. That's the opposite of the fight or flight. When, a bear is running down the street at you, go like this, you get ready to leave, fight. Well, you're not going to fight a bear, right? You're going to run like hell the other way. Help! Yeah. So when that happens, what goes on? Your heartbeat goes up, your respiration goes up, your muscles tense. You're getting ready to beat it or die fighting, and that is a stress response. Cortisol, which is a stress chemical, gets released. Well, a lot of us who have chronic stress are walking around that condition. That's going to bring on depression and exhaust ourselves physically and exhaust our adrenal glands. So what diaphragmatic breathing does is it just reverses that. The heart rate goes down, the breathing, is slower. The cortisol decreases, and you feel a hell of a lot better. Let me see. Amy says, oh yeah, it is April. It's about helping me to manage without medication. I'll try to take baby steps, So slow, deep breathing can help put your body back into a relaxation response. Highly recommended. Moore Gould says, I love your channel. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. I love doing it. As I said, this is a mental health ministry. I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because I have to. And those of you who are in AA know that the 12th step of AA is we go out and spread the word and share our recovery with other people. Why? So we can stay in recovery. It's not for other people, it's for us. So I got a couple of questions come up. I'm sorry I have to keep pointing at the screen. Someone who's feeling extremely hopeless and doesn't finding a solution except suicide. You need to go to my channel and type in alternatives to suicide and look at that because I give another one called a reason for hope during hard times. Just Google those two on my Google, search for them on my channel. You need to know that this too shall pass, that it always won't be this way. The hopelessness that you feel is because you don't think that things are ever going to end, and it's never going to get any better. And as many people who are asking questions, who have written me, who have called me, can attest, things do. So you got to find other people to help shore you up. You got to find your therapist or a friend or go to a support group. Patty says, I wish they came up with better antidepressants to help. Yeah, wait about 100 years because we're still in a very primitive time when it comes to drugs for psychiatry. Like in the Middle Ages when they did bloodletting. Someone mentioned something about being an introvert, and I'm trying to find that comment. I'm introvert, which to accept can be a struggle since society seems to value extroverts more. JK, that's a brilliant point. That's a very good point you make. Society does. this is an extroverted society. People who are introverts are in the minority. And, you know, it's tough. It's tough to live in a society where extroversion is the norm or, you know, favored. So one thing you have to do is just find other introverts like yourself. You know, accept yourself as an introvert. You can't change yourself. That's your hard wiring. That's your way you were born with. But guess what? Sigmund Freud was an introvert, and he basically gave us the world of modern psychology. Vincent van Gogh was an introvert. He was one of the greatest painters who ever lived. You know, there are even introverts who are actors. Can you believe it? Actresses? I dated a woman who was an actress once and ran a theater company. And when I went to meet the people after the play who had been out there and dramatized their parts so well, they were major introverts. So accept your introversion, love yourself for it, and try to work with it. Try to make it work for you. You're probably a very creative person too. Arcade Cup, I'm diagnosed. I have a question the source of the extreme wild mood swings. Told my doctor last year that I have days of shutting down, turning off my phone, basically not functioning. Beyond being closed up in my house, I was told I could get pills. However, the client other days I'm probably over-friendly. I feel like I'm on top of the world with feelings of grandiosity. Arcade Cup, you have just described the classic symptoms of bipolar disorder. So you don't have a fear of getting proper screening. It's okay. It's really okay to have bipolar disorder, to be genetically programmed, to be manic depressive. You talk about talented people, you know, Patty Duke, the actress, Ted Turner, woman who played Lois Lane, all these great artists, Robert Lowell, the poet. There's a whole book called Touch with Fire about great people with manic depression. So acknowledge it, and there are mood stabilizers that can help you. You know, I have a relative, one of my cousins is on mood stabilizers. It really helped him a lot. And, you know, when you're dealing with bipolar disorder, I think that this is one time where medication really should be tried. I think depression can be managed without medication, but I think with bipolar disorder, it's much more difficult. So you have described the classic symptoms of the grandiosity and crashing. Yeah, one repeating event is natural euphoria that we get with people socially with ease. I know crash is coming 24 to 48 hours. Yeah, you are basically describing the classic symptoms of manic depression, and I suggest you go to a counselor for it, and I suggest that you find some medication. JG says, thank you, Julie and Evelyn, so much. I appreciate all the love. You know, you guys should post your email addresses on my website or your phone numbers, or not on my website, on the channel, on this video, and start connecting with each other outside of this channel. You know, a lot of people, mutual peer support is what it's all about. That's why I run my groups. And that is, look at AA, right? Two drunks helping another. That's how AA started. So mutual support is so powerful. How about working while you're depressed, as Mildred? How do people cope? They take it very gently. You're feeling less crazy, says Arcade Cup. No, you have manic depression. That's not crazy. That's just a brain disease, a brain disorder. And it can be treated very successfully. I really think you should try lithium or something like it. I have a gal in my Tuesday group who was just literally going crazy for a year and a half, and finally she went on lithium, and the mood swings have stopped, the anxiety has stopped. So it's, you know, it's worth trying. Really, you've got nothing to lose. Remember what Marx said: "Workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains." Right? Manic depressives of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your ups and downs. So that's what you should do, get it treated. Someone asked a question here about why do people who are close to me think anxiety and depression is not a disease? Well, that's because, yeah, they don't have it themselves, said Helen. Absolutely. It is a disease. It is a disorder. Hey, Nate, nice to hear from you. So, yeah, people who don't know about this, well, they know from nothing. You got to get around from other people who are gone through this, know what's going on. This is why support groups, this is why I've been running a support group in my home for 17 years. Two organizations, I wish I had the computer so I could type these in. One is called NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI.org. And the other is called the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. It's DBSA, and I'm not quite sure what the website is, But if you type in your Google, D as in Douglas, B as in block, hey, DB, S as in Sam, A as in April, DBSA, you will get their website, and they have groups in every state of the country, free support groups you can attend to. Thomas Wilson says, hi, I like your little GE symbol. Very cute. We've got about 15 minutes left until we hit the hour. Thank you all for watching. And it looks like Joan is going to start. Here we go in the background. Joan is getting her morning smoothie. By the way, any thoughts about advice on guilt surrounding owing others money? Well, yeah. What people don't know can hurt them. Yes, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is a recipe for suffering. Absolutely. Like they said in the movie Scrooge, Christmas Carol, the ghost of Christmas Past says, beware of these two children. One is poverty, one is ignorance, but especially beware of ignorance. Arcade Cup says, I meant to say not diagnosed on my opening message. Thanks, helps me come to acceptance and realize as it is probably the fact with me. Absolutely. Let me go back to another earlier question here. Owing money surrounding, Greg, excellent question. If you owe money to people and you're guilty about it, well, the best thing to overcome guilt is to do something about it. Tell them you're sorry. Offer to pay them back $5 a month, or make some payment that you can require, that you can do. I went to the emergency room years ago, and I didn't have insurance. They sent me a bill for $3,000 for 2 hours. Wow. So I just called up the hospital, said, I don't have $3,000, but I can give you $50 a month. Well, they were so appreciative they were going to get something that they lowered my bill to $1,500, so it only took me 30 months or 2.5 years to pay off at $50 a month. So, if you owe people money, ask if you can pay it back slowly. Thank you, Emma, says Mildred. Lithium is good for depression and cyclothymia too. By the way, she mentioned cyclothymia. That is what you were talking about in terms of the ups and downs, the frequent ups and downs. That's different than manic depression, Arcade Cup, because when manic depression, you get really high and really low. With cyclothymia, you go a little high and a little low. So you might have one of the two. What is the stream about? This stream is about mental health recovery, healing from depression and anxiety, in case you haven't figured out. Yeah, that's what we're talking about for the last 50 minutes. Moore says, whether you do yoga or qigong or sports can cure depression, social anxiety. Yeah, exercise is the number one go-to for any sort of mood disorder. I had a video called Can Exercise Really Heal Depression? I'm publishing a video in 2 weeks on, what is this, the 30th of October, called Can Exercise Really Heal Depression, Monday the 30th. Stay tuned. All right, let's go for another question. Amy says, I've been on Effexor 75 milligrams for 4 years. It helped me to live, graduate, and find a job. Just one more traumatic event after my withdrawal. And it's been hell ever since I quit job that I found. I wonder why you withdrew from the Effexor, Amy. It's a hard drug to get off of. This is a difficult question. When you find a medication that's working for you and you're feeling better, do you get off it or do you continue it? That is a perplexing question that many people have to ask themselves. And I used to think get off of it, but I'm not so sure now, because when people get off the medication, sometimes they have withdrawal symptoms, sometimes they have relapse. As I talk about in one of my videos, will these bouts of depression ever end? My psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner says, you're on Wellbutrin, do not go off it. But I say, how do I know if it's helping me? It may not be. He said, well, but what if it is, and you go off it and you go back to your 6th hospitalization? Maybe this time you won't survive. Maybe this time you will become suicidal and act on it. It's not worth the risk. And I'm beginning to think maybe that's right. Maybe if you're on a medication and you're feeling better and there are no major side effects, maybe you should just accept it. Like, again, my friend who takes insulin every day. So, it's tough. What should I say to someone who cuts themselves, Thomas Wilson? Go to my channel, my www.youtube.com/user/healing-depression, or just put in Douglas Block Depression. And there's a video I have where I interview a client of mine in her 20s who used to cut, and she talks about how she stopped doing it. It's amazing. So go find that video on cutting on my channel. Also, go look at the internet. the reason people cut is because they are seeking a way out of their psychological pain and torment, and the physical pain they feel by cutting temporarily distracts them from the psychological pain. It seems counterintuitive. Why would you want to hurt yourself physically? But in some strange way, it soothes the anxiety, or the depression. So cutting is a very popular, unfortunately popular coping strategy, but there's two things wrong with it. One is it doesn't last, and two, you disfigure yourself. So it's important to find other coping strategies. That's the whole name of this game. We need to find better coping strategies and better strategies for health and healing than the ones we're using. And we can, because human beings are amazingly teachable. We're amazingly adaptable. The brain is something called neuroplastic. It can change and reformulate itself. That's why I say there's no such thing as a hopeless case when it comes to mental illness. I have never seen, I've been doing this since 1968. It's now, or 1967, it's now in 2017. That's 50 years. I've never seen a hopeless case, ever. Thanks, says Thomas. Is behavioral activation good only for treating depression? I'm not quite sure what behavioral activation is more. You can tell me. Josie says, I'm Levo. I asked to have my medication regulate on a higher TSH. And yeah, level of, what is it? Level of something. It's a thyroid medication. It's good. Why do you think anxiety and depression is an epidemic right now, says Lee McQueen? It's because we live in a culture where things are more and more fragmented, where traditional families and communities are broken down. People don't go to their neighborhood church. They don't go to the neighborhood store. They don't live with their family. They don't even live near their parents. I moved 3,000 miles away from my parents, so all of the traditional structures have broken down, which makes life much more exciting, but it makes people much more vulnerable to isolation and fragmentation. Plus the fact, look at all the stress in the world, and look at all the bad news. You know, there's something called catastrophe fatigue, which I'm going to talk about, or catastrophic fatigue. I mean, the floods, in Houston, the shooting in Las Vegas, the fires in Northern Carolina, Northern California, excuse me, you Californians, the fires, the floods, the earthquakes in Mexico. You listen to that type of news all the time, and you're going to get really depressed. So there's a lot. How long am I streaming for? Thomas says another 8 minutes and 2 seconds. I've been here for 52 minutes. I agree the moral fabric of society is falling apart. Not enough family love. Yeah, I wouldn't say the moral fabric of society is falling apart. There's a lot of good people out there doing amazing things. A lot of nonprofits like Oxfam and Mercy Corps going into impoverished countries and doing phenomenal stuff. Look at Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, There's a lot of people out there trying to do good in the world and help. No, I don't think I think that the traditional structures have fallen apart, and I think maybe some of the mores have gotten a little loose, but there's still a lot of good people doing a lot of good things. At least in the United States, women are treated better than they used to be, and people of color, we have a long way to go, but there's a lot of humane things that have happened over the last 50 years since, I came of age during the Civil Rights Movement. I mean, ask any person of color, any African American, what it was like to be in this country in the 1950s, where people got lynched and nobody thought anything of it. So we have made social progress. Look at the gay lesbian movement. I mean, my God, I knew gay people when I was in my teens. Nobody could come out and talk about that they were gay. So there is greater humanity, I think, in many aspects, but there's also greater cruelty. Dickens was right in The Tale of Two Cities. It is the best of times, it is the worst of times. Life is really a big paradox, and that's what we're living with. So as depressives, we need to look at the part of life that's working, because we tend to see the glass is half full, empty, and we normally kind of drift towards the negative. That's our default position. But we need to basically go ahead and see, the good things that are going on in our life and the world at large, so we don't get overly skewed in the negative, which simply reinforces the depression. Okay, a couple more questions have come in. Not enough family love. My mother has BP depression, says Arcade Cup. My father's direct opposite. He never stops moving. I see them in me. Yes. Well, unfortunately, the apple never falls too far from the tree. We take on our parents' stuff. We can't control that. But what we can control is how we respond to it. What we can control is what we do with it. What we can control is seek treatment, because we can change our genetics. But you know what? Behavior in the world turns genes off and on. There's a term for that, which I forgot, but you can even change your genetic pattern by the behavior you do and the thoughts you think. Raina Swift says, I appreciate what you do, Douglas. thanks so much with all the time you put into helping others. Remember to look after yourself too. Yes, that's why I'm going to go out and go on my normal bicycle ride routine if it doesn't shower. Right, we are basically coming to the rainy season in Oregon. It rained for 24 hours straight. My goddaughter was kvetching about that. Isn't that a great word, kvetching? And by the way, I was going to have a no. This joke is too regional for me to tell. But anyway, kvetch is a Yiddish word. Yeah. So 24 hours of rain, 1.7 inches in one day. Wow. So there we are in Oregon. This is not Phoenix, Arizona, believe me. But there are breaks in the rain. We can get outside, and I have an elliptical. So yes, self-care. The healer needs to heal themselves. Very, very good point. Thank you for reminding me of that. Any other comments in the last 4 minutes? 3MM4N, thank you for everything you do. Dr. Block, you help others through one of the darkest times. God bless you. Thank you. What is the best treatment for social anxiety? Exposure. We had a guy who came to my group who had social anxiety. He came the first day, didn't say anything, maybe stayed for 10 minutes. Then he came the next day for 10 minutes, then 20. He gradually got used to the group. Now 6 months later, they're like old friends. So where the first time he came, he was scared out of his wits. So social anxiety, gradually introduce yourself to social interactions. You may need some Klonopin or some Ativan to take the edge off initially. Mike says, hope the weather is good for your bike ride. Thanks, Douglas. Well, maybe I should move to Phoenix. I love you. Please keep doing what you do. Josie, I am committed to doing, not to make a pitch for money, but you could help with Super Chat. But no, I mean, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I am committed to these things. Putting out a video every Monday, and every Wednesday a live chat at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and every Sunday a live chat at 12 p.m. Pacific time. 3 events a week you can look forward to. Helen says, thanks to the ghost, you're awesome. Thank you, Helen. So that's what we're going to do. Also, I have mental health coaching. Gavin, there are some people who have actually responded here who are actually my clients long distance, and boy, they say, God, why did I ever start with that idiot? No, they don't say that. They say, I thank my lucky stars I met Douglas. No, they don't say that either. It's somewhere in between. Laura says, thank you. You're welcome, Laura. So, yeah, you guys can, oh, yeah, where's my little stupid, it's somewhere here. Where have I done with it? Well, I had a little sign here. Oh, here it is. My email address, douglasblock@gmail.com. Write me with any question. I'll also send you a link to my, my channel, my coaching program, right? 12 Weeks to a Better Mood based on the book Healing for Depression, which is it down here? Hey, isn't that purple nice? Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood. That's what my coaching program is based on. It only took me 17 years to write the book. No big deal, right? But in all seriousness, depression, managing depression, recovering from depression, mental health recovery is a lifelong thing. Just get used to it, guys. You're not going to get over it overnight. 17 years, LOL. You're a monarch in this chaotic world we live in. Thank you very much for everything you do. Hug, says April. Thank you, Dr. Douglas. I wish you have a wonderful day. Where can I buy your book, says Lee McQueen? Yeah, go to Amazon.com and put in Healing from Depression, Douglas Block. And Helen says, great book. Hey, she's given a recommendation. Here it is again. Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood by Douglas Block. Yeah, just go to Amazon. Again, just put in Douglas Block Depression. But someone says, Emma says, thank you, Doug. I enjoy your bike ride. I look forward to watching another time. I'll message you. Says, Josie, thank you for all your time and knowledge. Thanks. Man, excellent, fantastic book, says April. Hey, I'm getting all these compliments. In an hour, 1 minute and 20 seconds, I won't be able to get any more compliments. What am I going to do? How am I going to have self-esteem? You guys got to write me. You got to text me. You got to call me. You got to send me hundreds of dollars. I need appreciation. I need appreciation. No, I don't, because it comes from within, right? All acknowledgement has to come within. If we're expecting to have the world acknowledge us and compliment us, we're going to be waiting a long time. We have to have what's called self-validation, internal reward. I'm doing this work because I love it, because I want to do it, not because someone's paying me or someone's rewarding me or someone's saying how great I am. It's like an artist. Why does someone play the piano? Why does someone play the guitar? Why does someone make music? Because, it creates love. And that's one of the best things you can do to heal from depression. Find something you're passionate about. Find something you love doing. Find a passion, and that will erase a lot of the depression. Moore says, does your book have a Hebrew translation? No, but You can do it. Yeah, find a Hebrew publisher. Have them contact me. I'd love it to be. I'm Jewish, by the way. So yeah. Hebrew would be great. I could show it to all my relatives. Hey, maybe they finally send me some money for a bar mitzvah. It's only been, what is it, 13 minus 68. It's only been 55 years. Moore says, thank you. Yeah, Hebrew translation. That's a great idea. All you Hebrew-speaking people, come, call me, do something. Okay, we're 2 seconds over. I don't care. Douglas, I purchased your book on Amazon. Have not had to read yet, but you copied one of your charts to keep me reminded. Thank you. Julie says I'm going to buy the book too. If you go to my website, healingfromdepression.com, very simple, and you click on print books, you'll find a link to that also. Easy book to remember, Healing from Depression. Well, we've been on for 1 minute, 1 hour and 31 seconds. What do you say we call it a wrap? So 2 things to look forward to, guys. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time, look to my channel. You'll see a video posted called You're More Resilient Than You Think. And Lee says I'm going to use it in my next assignment. And then at 11 a.m. Pacific time, which is basically 7 p.m. British time. Hey, we haven't had as many people from Britain. Maybe on Sunday night they'll like to hang out with their families. But the UK, we haven't had as many people in the UK on this chat. But anyway, 11 a.m. on Wednesday, and then again a week from today, noon, on Sunday the 29th, another live chat. Have a great day. I'm in the UK, Emma. I love the UK. I lived there for 6 months. I love the British people. I love their mysteries. I love their TV. Yeah, me too, says Amanda. Hey, all right. I apologize. You guys were on here. All right. Well, please write me. Please text me. Please go ahead and you can't text me on my phone number, but maybe I'll get a distinction this time. Says Lay. Very funny. Yeah, send me your emails. Send me your comments. And British comedy is the best. Yeah, I think I've heard of something. Who are those people? The Life of Brian. Someone tell me before I hang out. Someone did something. The Life of Brian. They're a very funny British group. Kisses from Tunisia. Wow, cool. I love that fact we're in the African continent. Monty Python. Thank you, Raina. It came to me. Monty Python. All the Brit Monty Python fans. Okay, I can call a wrap. We know who Monty Python is. They're great. So see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot to have a appreciative audience, and you have great questions. So as we say in Spanish, hasta luego. Oh my God, I got an A in Spanish in high school. Okay, hasta luego. Talk to you later.